Hi everyone, this is Miko. I'm with LibraLunaCenter.com and I am super late with this monthly shadow report. My bad. I have been super busy. Mars is in Gemini, and if you guys know anything about Gemini, Gemini is a busybody, and I have Gemini in the fourth house. So I've been extremely busy with getting my home life in order. And so a lot has shifted, a lot of changes, a lot of transformations are taking place on an individual scale for all of us collectively and in the outward world that we're seeing. Um, the evolution is a slow process. You understand that, right? Our consciousness is evolving. And I think that what the shadow report is meant to reflect is where we do need to do the inner work, um, the inner purging. Shadow work isn't anything new, like new agey or anything in that regard. Carl Jung, I believe, was the first person to actually implement the whole ideology behind shadow work. And he basically describes the shadow as an aspect of the hidden parts of our subconscious mind, right? The things that we keep suppressed. And to do the work means to basically face those inner shadows, those inner, whatever word you want to give it, inner demons, inner dichotomies, right? Because this whole experience is polarity, this whole experience is duality. It's not about shoving our shadows under the rug. It's not about shoving these things, these aspects of ourselves under the rug. We need to face them. We need to face our issues. And the biggest conversation that we're having, a majority of 2017, is this dynamic conversation between Pluto, right, the lord of the underworld, and Jupiter, right, god of expansion, of abundance, of foreign travel, knowledge, infinite wisdom. And so it's in the sign of Libra though, right? So I'm telling you, Libras and Capricorns, Cancers and Aries, you guys are having the most massive transformations, and wherever it is in your chart, because everybody has these signs somewhere in their natal birth chart, you are being transformed in different areas in your life. No matter what, everybody is having a sense of transformative experience. But if your sun, moon, or rising signs are in any of these cardinal signs, you are feeling it on a much more visceral scale. And so there are deep realizations with this conversation, deep realizations in our relationships and the structures of them, Libra, Capricorn, and the structures of our relationships, the traditions that we have been holding on to and giving so much value to, are being transformed, I guess is the word. But they're definitely being altered. And it is the time to make our own good fortune on a grand scale with this aspect. So moving into it consciously, because we are conscious beings. And the whole point of this Uranus, right? Uranus had the conversation early in the year with the opposition between Jupiter and Uranus, and then also squaring Pluto. Like, so these are massive. It's huge when you really understand what Uranus represents. Uranus is the god of chaos, the god of rebellion, the god of revolution, the god of evolution, the god of innovation, doing things differently on a scale that is out of this world, right? Like you've never known. So we are waking up to parts and aspects of ourselves that we're surprising even ourselves. But that is the whole point, is to kind of come out of this cocoon that we've been in for so long in the dark, Pisces age, right? We are moving into a higher way, a higher understanding of being. There is an aspect of ourselves that understands what the universe is asking of us. It's all about doing the dirty work, and that's what shadow work is. So when we think of the things that we don't like about ourselves, right? we try to keep them suppressed and as if they are no good or whatever. And it's not about judging them as far as being bad or good. It's a matter of understanding that, you know, this is just about learning how to implement the changes that you want to see. You got to understand that you are the alchemist in this whole experience, right? It's about identifying the fact that this whole experience is much more than physical, is much more than the physical experience. We are in matter, absolutely, right? We are in this human flesh, bones, bodies, whatever. But the part of us that we don't understand is the soul. And so I say that because, you know, I've studied psychology in my own time. I have worked in the field. I've worked as a psych tech in different sane asylums or whatnot, but like I've done my own studies, and I've studied Carl Jung's work, and it's pretty extensive, it's pretty intense, but he's deep and he's real, and it's, wow, that was a butterfly, and he gets to the core root of like the different levels of our psyche, because we do have different levels, and that's also reflected in astrology. But what I've learned from Carl Jung is just even the fact that the word psychology was built on the idea that the word psych in etymology, the psyche, is the soul. Ology is the suffix of the study of something, right? The study of the soul is what psychology was birthed to be. How it has grown to become is basically like a form of manipulating behaviors to control the outward behaviors, but never really getting underneath why this behavior is even there. Now we all come in with an innate understanding that we are interconnected. You know, as babies, there's this part of us that is tapped into an emotional intelligence, right? Our EQ, that is in harmony with everything. So a baby can detect when they feel bad vibes from someone, they start to cry immediately. Or if they hear another baby crying, they can tune in and feel what their pain is and just immediately start to cry. Like it's amazing. This is our natural state of being. We've unlearned all of that in the process of domestication. And so how we are supposed to be according to what society has been programming us generation after generation to conform to is no longer okay. And we can feel this innately because it's denying the whole part of this soul journey, right? And the soul journey is to live by the heart. I mean, not the ego. The ego exists, I feel, to give us a sense of identity. But it's been misconstrued to believe that our outward identity is, it's such a dichotomy though, you know, because there's so much synergy and synchronistic energy that all simultaneously kind of play out together. So when I say that, yeah, we are individuals, and we know that we are individuals here, but we're all having a collective experience as a human species. It's just like looking at a crystal. You know that the crystal is one entity, but it's multifaceted in its cut and its reflection, and in its light and how it's reflected off of the light, right? So we are a reflection of nature. And what the universe is asking us right now is to basically learn how to place greater value on ourselves, because when we can understand how to value ourselves on a collective, I'm sorry, if we can learn how to value ourselves, we can come into an alignment with the fact that everybody is valuable. Everybody has the right to exist on the planet. We don't have the right to tell someone that they don't have the right to exist. And how we got caught up in this illusion of they versus we is they are different than us, you know. It reminds me of the Lion King movie. I don't know. And Nala was like, we
Look at this. Look at them. They are no different than us.
well, because their skin color, I mean, they still have bones, they still have flesh, they still bleed out. So we are so interconnected that when we hurt one another, we're really hurting ourselves. And as we hurt, as we can reflect and look at ourselves and how we do internally hurt ourselves by the way we think, our thought processes, by what we choose to ingest in our bodies, right? That does damage if you're not eating healthy to provide the nourishment that your body and your cells crave, right? Just what you absorb watching TV, the people that you associate yourselves with. I mean, you gotta care. You gotta care enough to know that everybody is not meant to be in your experience. Yeah, maybe sometimes we're meant to cross paths, and sometimes we learn what those lessons are once those paths are crossed. But it's not always easy. And I think that that's what's going on with a lot of our relationships right now. The relationships that are being revealed to us, right, are basically our own mirrors. So everything that we see in another person is basically a reflection of our own selves. So whatever it is you don't like in another person, the shadow, that's the shadow. You wouldn't be able to see it if it didn't already exist in you, is Carl Jung's theory, right? It wouldn't even exist. You wouldn't even be able to see it in another person if it didn't already exist within you.
So that's some deep shit.
So, the digging, Pluto and Capricorn, we are restructuring our relationships. But what we are seeking, we must find within ourselves. So, whatever it is that you are wanting, wishing, and hoping that you could find in another person, you have to become. This is basically the whole underlying lesson here, because our relationships mirror who we are. The shadow work I feel that many people don't want to do the work because we tend to be a very lazy species. The human species is a lazy species. We have become very comfortable in our comfort zones. Very comfortable in our comfort zones. And we don't like change. We don't embrace it. But the fucking universe is screaming change. I can't even believe it. We can feel this viscerally, and we want to burst out of this constraint that we're in. You know, there's so much domination and control and manipulation going on that massive change is in the air. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. We haven't even seen anything yet. So once Pluto goes into Aquarius energy is very unpredictable depending on their level of evolution. So there will be massive changes. Our monetary system will be completely different. And how we communicate with one another is going to be different as well, because we have moved into an intuition age that we haven't even tapped into yet. All the water signs, I know you can feel this. I know you can feel this. You probably think you guys are going crazy because you can feel everybody's energy so viscerally. But this is why it's important, and especially right now, Mercury has gone into Taurus, right? It's especially right now to come into that space where you can kind of ground yourself in quietness, listen to nature, just kind of connect with nature, connect with Gaia herself at this point. For the water signs, I say this specifically because I know that you can feel this, and as Jupiter gets closer to Scorpio, it'll be even more intense. But for this month, it's about healing, regenerating, recognizing the abundant potential that we have within ourselves that we can reflect in our relationships, if that's what we want, right? I mean, this is the whole thing about getting to the core of the things that we value, things that we value. What do we want in relationships?
What the fuck are you looking for? What are you looking for?
Are you looking for somebody to fulfill you? And if that is the case, well, we got to understand why and where you're feeling empty, and you got to fill that space up yourself. This is you being your own hero. It's not about playing the martyr to anybody else. It's about you martyring yourself, you being your own super human. We are here to lift one another up. Don't get me wrong, okay? I think that that's mainly like what we're here to do, is to encourage one another to grow, because that's what we want. We are a part of nature, and nature always strives towards the sun, towards the light. And but there's a lot that happens during the dark, and so there's a lot going on within our own darknesses, within our own unconsciousness, our own subconscious minds. But we gotta do the work. So the shadow work is basically understanding where your jealousy issues come from, understanding why you get angry, what makes you angry, identifying all your little triggers, identifying all those little triggers that send you in a state of negative vibration. Yes, negative vibration. Because ultimately we know duality is this whole experience. Negative vibration isn't something that's a bad thing, but it's basically like a language that tells you you're not thinking in alignment with what your soul is choosing. You're thinking on an ego-based level. So this whole theme, Jupiter is also having a conversation with Neptune. To me, I think it's a very spiritual and magical conversation, because I feel like, Pisces, Neptune in Pisces is a very spiritual place to be in. And so as we are shedding these parts of our egos, as we're being forced to shed these parts of our egos, the more we resist, the more chaos we will experience internally and externally. But the more that we do the work in identifying our shadows, the more we can be at peace with ourselves and where we are today in our experiences, you see. So I think I shared in a previous video that, how I was raped when I was younger by every man that I've ever called father. And there's only two. But that experience shaped my whole perspective on how I viewed all men, and has kept me keeping people at arm's length as far as building true bonding, emotionally connected relationships. I avoided it like the plague. And so what I am being called into at this particular time-space continuum is the complete opposite of that. And so it's a completely different reality for me, but I feel ready to embrace it. But as I am ready to embrace it, there's all these issues that come up. And so I'm forced to kind of deal with these aspects, these shadows. And it's not anything that like really just goes away, but I feel like there comes a time in our journey where we are no longer dominated by the issues of our lives, we're in control now, you know? And I feel that's kind of where we're being called to, you know, just to be more in control of how we are responding to what we are witnessing in the world, and just trying to identify how we are a part of that, whatever it may be. Just to be real with ourselves. Somehow, some way, deep down, inside, whatever's going on in another country, there is a reflection within our own individual consciousness that allows these things to go on, because they happen within us. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's probably a lot more esoteric than I plan on getting into, but so
before the end of this month, we're going to have Venus and Jupiter opposing each other. Once again, we're going to be mirroring ourselves to each other, basically, you know. The energy is that we're coming out of shadow, right? But it's in Jupiter. Jupiter gives us, sometimes Jupiter makes us feel a little bit overly optimistic in our relationships, and there's nothing wrong. But this particular aspect with Venus and Jupiter opposing each other, we are going to witness, because Mercury will be out of shadow, Venus will be out of shadow. Those particular conversations that are taking place are kind of forcing us to recognize what are the best relationships for us, what are the best projects for us to move forward in, because the grand trine is in all fire, right? So we got the North Node in Leo, we've got Saturn in Sagittarius, retrograde over the North Node, over the galactic center, and then Uranus in Aries. So this is inspirational energy. We are ready to move forward. Mars is in Gemini. We are ready to move. We are ready to get things rocking and rolling. But, you know, to really truly see what we want manifested, we need to stay grounded, because this is the year of the rooster, man. Like, whatever we are seeing on the outside, it is easily to get distracted, and easily to become emotionally tuned into, to where it completely throws off your whole frequency pattern. And that's the whole point behind the whole media, is to dominate the mass conscious emotional realm, because the emotions is where all the magic is. You have the thought, but the emotions create. You know, that's why water signs are so powerful. That's why Scorpio is known as the alchemist. They feel so deeply. So soon, I think next month, June.
so the beginning of the month, the beginning of the month.
So the beginning of the month, the next month in June, we're going to have Jupiter turn direct. We'll station and begin to turn direct. And I have been saying this to a lot of people, and I think people think I'm crazy because I have Sun square Neptune. But I feel that, you know, once Jupiter goes direct, man, I honestly feel like we don't understand how powerful the energies right now are. We don't understand how powerful our thoughts are. We don't understand it. Like, we don't. And so whatever you've been doing, whatever you've been putting out into the universe, whether you consciously or unconsciously, we will reap. We will begin to reap once Jupiter goes direct. So I don't say that to imply fear, no, but an awareness, just a level of awareness that, you know, what goes around always comes around. This is law. It's not a man-made law. It's a universal law. It's not something you can run or hide from. So it's like, if you're in a relationship that you're not happy in, if you're in a relationship where you're manipulating, where you're being manipulated, or if you're being manipulated in relationships, or if you are the manipulator in relationships, you're going to reap it. You're going to reap it. If you have been giving and loving and in that state of receptivity, right? Where you're not resisting the change that is being asked of you, I feel that you will reap that as well. You will reap the rewards of everything that you've manifested, that you have been energetically, right, maneuvering through the planet with, let's say. Because Jupiter will be the closest to the planet during this time, and we are going to feel the wrath. Justice will be served. It's in Libra. Libra wants balance. Libra wants equality. Libra wants justice. Libra wants fairness. Libra wants to say, you know what? We're in this together, but man, you need to meet me halfway. We must compromise here. There is no more over compromising where you're giving way too much or not enough. That's out the door. It's no longer to be tolerated. We are no longer tolerating superficial relationships. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Superficial relationships are out the door. And even if you may not be conscious of it, you'll feel it. You'll feel it viscerally because you just know. Your heart is the communication device. It's a direct link to your soul. Your ego is all up in the way with how the ego believes things are supposed to be. But this is why there's this constant war that us as mankind stands in. The war between the heart and the mind, right? Between the soul and the ego. Well, why are they at war with one another? We weren't taught that they were supposed to be friends. They're supposed to be best friends at that. And so the work is just in that, building that relationship right there. Getting down to the nitty-gritty, it takes a lot of work. It ain't easy because this, you got to think about, this is like millennia worth of conditioning, and we feel it within ourselves. We herald all of our ancestral energies just within our DNA. So here we are, and we think we're having a different experience than what our ancestors experienced, but we're not. We end the month with a new moon in Gemini. The new moon in Gemini, I'm not even sure if it's going to be conjuncting Mars or not. Let's see. We end the month off with the moon in Gemini, right? And the moon in Gemini basically is going to give us even more of the drive. Mars is already there. It's going to give us even more of a drive to continue to move forward. You know, we're going to feel emotionally ready for all of the universe's requests of us. And, you know, you can really hear the language of the universe through your dreams, your visions. It can be moved by like a billboard. You can be moved by a conversation with another person. Like, there's no end to how the universe speaks to you. It's all a matter of you learning how to tune in, right? We are moving into the intuitive age. We were in the industrial age for forever. And for some reason, this is some kind of plot to try to keep it in that industrial age, but we have moved through the information age like so fast. We've got information overload. We have this fear about keeping our hidden private world private. Nobody should know. Well, that's all changing. That is all changing. And we just need to be okay with it, you know? And if you're living authentically, you'll be all right with it. You'll be all right with moving into integrating into this transparent age of consciousness, let's just say. Because, like, themes of telepathy are being themes of telepathy. I mean, we have these gifts. We look at them as gifts, but they are actually a natural part of our natural part of our beingness. And so, because we are so misled, we look at, you know, the fact that we can tune into different realms of consciousness, that we can hear beyond the realms of the third dimensional reality, that it is a form of illness, right? I can see why it would be looked at as a form of illness, because we don't know how to navigate these faculties, these tools, and we allow ourselves to be destructive by them, destructive by them. One of those words. You know, we're not using it for our greater good, basically, because we've never been taught to. Our consciousness is just shifting, and it's about time. And our relationships are going to shift in the meantime. And hopefully we are learning more about ourselves during this phase, during this year, than ever. This is the month right now, month of May, where the North Node has shifted into Leo, and it is about tuning into our hearts, right? Leo rules the heart, our passion, what makes us, what gives us that fire, right? Who gives us that fire, right? It's the superficial. The superficial relationships are not going to cut it. And if you are not on fire for that person, you won't be turned on. We want deeper connections. We want soul connections. That's that Neptune and Jupiter conversation. And we are ready to transform ourselves to have that. Pluto, right? We're ready to restructure everything we've ever known about the relationship, not only with ourselves, but most definitely with others. And our relationship with others in relation to our intimate relationships, and our relationships just in general with friends, family, and peers, coworkers, or whatnot. It's so windy right now. It just picked up, so I'm going to end here. But the shadow work for this month is basically, you want to ask the questions that you really would rather not have the answer to, and then start from there, right? If you're pointing the finger at somebody else and you're saying that this person is making me feel this way, stop. Look at yourself and say, why am I reacting this way? What is it about me that feels that it is okay to demand or have an expectation from this other person? Based on what? I think I read somewhere it said that our greatest sufferings come from our expectations in other people, because people aren't here to live up to other people's expectations. And we are slowly coming to an awareness of that. We are here to live up to our own expectations. We are here to be the martyr of ourselves. And the relationships that we want mirrored back to us are exactly the types of individuals that we are willing to put in the work. We are willing to meet you halfway. We are willing to connect on that soul level, right? No time for superficiality anymore. It's just not going to cut it. It is so windy. So with everything that we've encountered since Jupiter went retrograde, right, which I would believe is the beginning of this year, but everything that we've endured since then, there's been a lot of challenges that came up. How we navigated through it all. Did we become angry? Did we become bitter? Or did we kind of just write it out? We will see the justice served for our greater good. No matter what, it is for our greater good, because it's all about lessons. With Saturn in Sagittarius, it's all about the lessons and our beliefs about, you know, ourselves and our relationships, just our beliefs in general, restructuring them, and we will feel it. It'll be good. No matter what, it'll be good, because pain is good. If you're experiencing any pain, pain is good. Just embrace it for what it is, and allow yourself to bring in the lesson, because there's always a lesson in pain, and the universe will reveal that to you if you ask. And so with that, check out Kiana's videos for the weekly and the full moon that we just had. Very powerful. My daughter
Is amazing. She's a genius.
I'm so happy that you guys are embracing her and allowing her the space to unfold into the beautiful lotus flower that she is. I appreciate you guys for watching. This is the Shadow Report for May 2017. Thanks for watching. Until next time.